Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Rafael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Ondra, how are you? Good morning. I know it's not morning for you over there, but good morning here. How are you today?
Good morning to you. I'm doing fabulous. We're
Excellent.
having a great day.
And so I said it's not morning for you. Where are you and what time is it for you?
I am in Vietnam and it is 9 p.m.
See, I knew it. And thank you for taking the time to be with me today. I really appreciate you. We've gotten to know a little bit of each other through what we have belonged to an incredible community called Connected Leaders Academy. And you are the youngest person in this community. And we're going to get into all these different things because age, we were talking earlier, is just a number. It's really what goes on in here that differentiates everyone in the world. Ondra, this is a question I ask everybody because it's so intriguing to me. Where were you born, and who would you say were your biggest influencers before the age of 10?
Okay. I was born in the Czech Republic in a small town called Otrokovice. It is an industrial town of about 20,000 people. So a relatively small town. And my biggest influence before the age of 10, I would say probably my grandfather was one of the biggest ones. Specifically the grandfather from my dad's side.
Gotcha. And you say he was one of the biggest ones. Why was he such an influence on you?
He was living in a village, and he was very skilled with little machinery, like the things that cut grass or cutting down trees, and he took care of a garden. He was playing around with motorcycles, and he was always soldering, like tinkering with stuff. And he also built model airplanes. And so I picked up that hobby from him, and I spent my early teens building model airplanes as well, and doing that and tinkering with little electronic stuffs and things like that. So
is that a path that you think you wanted to continue, just building things?
Yeah, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that. And looking back, he taught me how to go to the forest and like find the perfect branch to make a whistle out of it, like carve out a whistle from a branch, or how to take a little small plank and make a boomerang and go to the field to throw a boomerang that actually came back. And we did these kind of fun little things. And yeah, so he definitely influenced me in a big way.
So I love that aspect of creating from not only what's around you, but even nature. And just having a blast with it, having fun, right? A boomerang, creating a boomerang actually came back. So did you get good at making boomerangs?
I only ever made one with him. Actually, I might have tried to build some paper ones later on, and they didn't really work. But the one that we built with him, it was made from like a wooden plank, and it worked really well. I kept it for a long time.
You see, the reason I say, have you continued building? Because you are building boomerangs. You just don't call them that.
Yeah. They look different. They look differently now.
Yeah, they're much different. And the boomerangs, we're going to get into that a little bit later. So your grandfather had a big influence on you. Who else would you say growing up had an influence on you? And were you still living there when your grandfather was influencing you, where you were born?
Yeah, so obviously my parents had a big influence in both positive and negative ways, let's say, in terms of helping find out what I want and what I don't want. My mom was a huge influence in helping my brain develop very logical and problem-solving thinking, and she did that very intentionally in some not very nice ways, but it worked. It worked. And my dad influenced me mostly in a way of like how I don't want to show up and how I don't want to live and what I don't want my life to be when I grow up.
So you're saying that those were negative lessons, but you took the positive out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say negative in a sense of like I want to get away from this because ultimately it created a positive impact anyways. It just wasn't so enjoyable. Whereas basically all the experiences with my granddad were um, pleasurable and enjoyable and
Mhm.
fun.
You said something pretty important about your mom. Let's go a little bit deeper if that's okay with you. You talked about her helping you with the logical aspects of developing you, and you said it wasn't so positive. What do you mean by that? Give me
Yeah.
some
So
examples, if you will.
I think I tried to ask her and she also didn't remember fully, but I think it was around when I was about 7 or 8. She somehow found this video game of all things, a video like a computer game,
Mhm.
and it was a very difficult logical puzzle game basically, with multiple different levels, and she forced us to play the game and to try and solve the problems, and it was like a really difficult problems where you
Mm.
basically had to go out and you had to explore the environment and you had to figure out what things do, and you had to solve these logical puzzles, figure out what things do, and then okay, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? And I need
Mm.
to find my path, unlock these puzzles, and finally solve this whole puzzle. And some of these puzzles took us like weeks to finish of working on them, like hours a day, and it took weeks to finish because it was just so complex and complicated, and my brain would hurt like all the time. And why it wasn't so nice, even though it was a video game. Well, I was forced to play it. I didn't choose to. And secondly, my my mom's technique was, well, I you have to do it because I said so, and you're gonna sit here for 3 hours and focus on this, or you're not gonna have dinner until you solve this, basically.
Mm.
So very, and again, I don't know if she would actually do that and be like, "Oh, you didn't solve it, so you can't eat." But I
Right.
mean, I'm 7, 8 years old, so of course I believe it, right? And so
Right.
that was her technique. That wasn't so nice, um, but it worked. And I remember very clearly. I would always ask her like, "Why do you force me to do this? Like, why do I have to do this? Because it's what the hell?" And her answer was very broad, and she said, "It's brightening your brain." In the translation, like it's
Mm.
brightening your brain, it's making your brain better. And
Mm.
again, as a 7, 8-year-old kid, I never understood that. Like, what does that even mean? And now looking back, like what she meant was it actually developed like a really good problem-solving skill and
Mm.
a way for my brain to kind of navigate easily and be like, okay, this is the problem, this is where I'm trying to go, this is what I'm trying to do. Let me figure out what things do, how do I navigate the environment, and then how do I solve the puzzle fully. And
Mm.
I applied that into math, I applied that into physics, and I applied it into just real life as well, and later on mental health that we can get into later as well. And
Right.
so that's why I did really well in school and in maths and physics and eventually software engineering and programming and things like that. So it worked.
It worked. It worked. She just kind of went about it not the way you wanted it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was not enjoyable during that time, but now, like, I'm looking back, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. You are who you are because of that, right?
Oh
if you
yeah.
think of it, even though you didn't like it. And most kids would want to play video games, but they wouldn't want to play one that they're not interested in, right?
Not
Um,
that game. Oh
not those games. Have you Here's a question that it just came into my head. Have you ever played those games after?
yes,
Right?
I have. Yeah, I have consciously chosen to go back and play a couple levels to like remember and try and see, how it's gonna work. And it's still the same difficulty I use. It's still not really enjoyable, and it's still very, very difficult.
Not enjoyable at all, huh?
Only for the memory, like, because
Right, right, right.
ultimately, like, although, like, I describe it maybe as a negative experience, and a lot of the times it was, again, like, oh, you're not gonna eat until you solve this.
Mm,
But then also, like, a lot of the times, or sometimes it would be me and her, and sometimes my dad, like, just sitting around and trying to figure this out. So there have been some positive experiences, like positive
right.
days when we enjoyed, and especially like the reward from, oh my God, I spent 4 weeks trying to solve this puzzle, and now I finally did it. Yay. Like, that was really rewarding, of course.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. And so your dad was did your mom tell your dad he couldn't eat either if he didn't
Uh,
solve the
I
puzzles?
think so. Like, he was also there uh, involuntarily. He was also forced. Um,
Mm,
he wanted to play, I think, some like first person shooters or something like that, and he was also forced to play this game. It's called Quadrax. Quadrax. Different
quadrax.
Quadrax. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, it's, the power of your mom, right? Uh, do you, do you ever wish that, you could take that all back and it never happened?
Hell no.
No, right? No, not
Absolutely
at
not.
all. Yeah, because now you have this brain that she developed, help you develop in a way that now you see a problem, but you see the solution that probably most people don't see immediately. It may take somebody several times and you're like, got it, right?
Yeah.
How has that served you going into your later years? This is 7, 8 years old, right? How did that start affecting you when you were a teenager?
Yeah. First, I will also say that a lot of the times I might not be able to see the solution right away,
Mhm,
but I'll see the path to the solution, which
mhm,
is very important, I think, because a lot of the times people will be just kind of lost and like, oh my God, this is a big problem and I don't know what to do at all. And I don't know the answer, I don't know the solution yet, but I know there's one, even though it might seem impossible, because a lot of the times it did. And I'll find my way. I'll try this, I'll try that. I'll kind of learn, and I'll figure it out. So I can see the path towards the solution, not the solution, a lot of the
mhm,
times. Um, it started affecting me. I think main thing that I started noticing was in school, and I became like the nerd, and it was just so easy for me to understand everything in school. Like, I did basically zero studying for school because I would spend most of my time playing this game anyways. And so I would do homework late, and I would not study for any tests, and I would ace everything. And it was because I just deeply understood everything. And I think it was a part of how my mom trained my brain to be logical and to try and understand things and learn deeply.
Mm,
So once something made sense to me, it just was easy.
mm,
And a lot of the times people had problems in school that like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And so I don't understand it, so I can't do anything with it, and I'm failing these tests and whatever. And it was just like, I don't have to study because I understand how it works, and I just do it. And
wow.
somehow it helped with focus and memory as well, because I mean I had to focus for hours on end on this difficult problem. So memorizing things also wasn't that difficult.
Mm,
And yeah, so in school I became the nerd with basically zero studying. I was still bullied for being a nerd and for being like very smart. And it was
mhm,
this weird experience because like they would call me names and pick on me and push me around and steal my stuff and hide my stuff and all this. But when
mm.
it came to a test or when it came to homework that they didn't understand, they would be lined up next to my desk and be like, "Hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? How do I do this?" And I would know everything, so I would just, and I was like, okay, at least now they're not bullying me, so I guess I'll help. So it was
Mm.
this weird duality where they would make fun of me, but then always need my help anyways, and
Wow.
come to me for help. So it was not fun as well,
Mm.
and I did not like school experiences because of that. And I think another thing that I didn't say is that my parents would fight a lot every day. When we were not playing the game, we would be very aggressive and screaming
Mm.
all the time. I remember my mom pulling a knife on my dad as well once, just
Wow.
having really tough arguments. And um, it was very scary. So it caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of social anxiety. Like I was scared of people very severely.
Mhm.
So I was scared of people at home because I didn't know what my mom or my dad would do if they start screaming. And I didn't know what the situation is going to be in school. Like, are they going to ask for help today,
Mm.
or are they going to, throw me around, push me around? I
Wow.
don't know.
Wow.
So, yeah, caused a lot of social anxiety, scared of people, and just wanted to be alone, like wanted to just hide as much as I could.
Mm.
And because of that, I started uh, having pretty bad depression as well, and hating myself
Oh, wow.
because I felt like I felt powerless, like I felt like there's nothing I can do. And
Mm.
as a young teen, it's like, okay, I have school and home, and it's basically what I have, like two areas of life of experience. And school is unstable and a lot of the times very heavy, and home is very heavy,
Mm.
right, and unstable. So it was difficult times, and that's where again this logical brain and problem solving and seeing a path, not maybe not the solution, but at least seeing a path to the solution, started kicking in. And so when I was about 13 years old, I Googled how to be happy because I was just so um, lost and I felt just super confused. And it got to the point where, well, I had to walk to school, about 15-minute walk, so not far away, but about 15-minute walk. And because it's an industrial town, I had to cross train tracks where like industrial trains
Mm.
and passenger trains would go as well. And when I was about 13, I spent probably months just wondering every day if I should just end my life at the train track and
Wow.
just end it. Like, what's the point of even getting to school if I can just jump in front of the train right here?
Mm.
Um,
That had to be
and there,
scary thoughts for you at the time, huh?
yeah, so definitely scary thoughts, and that's why I was like, okay, I know I don't really want to die. I know I don't really want to kill myself, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I just can't live like this anymore.
Right.
So out of desperation, I googled how to be happy, hoping that I'm gonna find some answers, and
Mm.
I did, and I did find
Nice.
some answers, and I
Yeah.
started working on myself at that time.
Who knew that Google would be there to help you out, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I want to go back to because you brought up memories for me, right? I did not go to sixth grade because I found and I passed sixth grade with honors because I was playing handball instead. I figured out a way to go to school, go in when the bell rang, and I would go in late, get a late pass so that I would get my name signed in as late and then walk out the back door and then go to the handball courts and play. And my friends would say, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, no problem. Just tell me when the test is." And I would go in, take my tests, and get hundreds. All of sixth grade.
Nice.
Not nice because I wish I would have. I don't even
Mm,
know what sixth grade was like. I even went and took the final year end exams and I aced them. And so I was that smart back then, but I was dumb because I didn't
mm,
attend class. At least I could have learned maybe a little bit more, right? Maybe a
mm,
little bit more. And so when you talked about not studying, I did zero studying. I did none of that stuff during sixth grade. Seventh grade, that changed for me, right? My life changed. I moved to a differently location because I also was in um, a hectic household, and it became more calm in my new location. And seventh grade, I went through, and I went into honors and all these different things. And then when I got to high school, I got into a above honors class. I didn't even know what that meant. I was put in there, and the coolest thing about being put in that class is that I was the dumbest kid in the room.
Mm.
Literally the dumbest kid. I was like, what is going on here? I used to know everything. Now I know nothing. And that led me to always look for people who are smarter than me. And I see, you and I would have been great friends, by the way. I'm glad we're friends now, right? Um, I, I, um, I looked at some videos that you did, and I want to come back to um, you even considering ending your life, and but having the thought in your mind, I don't want to die. I I'm worth more alive than dead, right? I have a purpose in this life. I need to find it. And you just said, "Hey, who's my big brother?" Oh, Google. That's my big brother. I'm going to ask him how to find happiness. And a lot of people don't realize that we criticize the internet all over the place because there is negativity, but there is some positivity. We just have to know how to ask and where to look. And you did a search, right? Tell me what, before we get into your search, how often would you consider jumping in front of a train? Was it a daily occurrence? Was it once in a while? Um, did you ever come close?
Yeah, there was definitely a period where it was daily, and
Mm,
it was very intense, multiple times a day as well. Um, I would say I got close, but never like a full attempt. Like
mhm.
I was never actually like close to the train. I was next to the train track. I never stood on the train track waiting for the train, or
Got it.
when the train passed, I would be standing far away.
Mm,
Um, but it was very tempting. It was very tempting.
mm. Um, I know what it's like to have a train coming at you because when I was a kid, we had elevated trains in New York City. I lived in Queens, and we used to climb the not the so we didn't have to pay for the station. We used to climb in the middle of the tracks and then come up and then walk the tracks and then get on the station and wait for the train. Not the brightest, right? And I thought I was a smart kid, not the brightest, because one time we were supposed to climb up, and my friend actually put his head up, and he put his head really quick down because the train just came right over. So it's a good thing he put his head down. None of us got hurt. Thank God none of us fell off. I'm talking about we were climbing 30 feet up or whatever it was. And, we were little, but we climbed. We didn't care. And we did all nonsense type of things like that. And none of us were smart, right, at that point. And so knowing what being on the tracks, making sure we're not touching the third rail at that point, and then climbing and running on the track, so make sure that the train wasn't coming. It was probably not the smartest things we ever did. And thank God none of us ever even considered saying, hey, what would happen if we ended it today? And I feel for you, and I'm just so happy that you never stepped on the tracks to find out. And you said there was a time when it was more often than others. What was that time like?
It was dark and heavy. I think it was I think it was just stacking up to the point where it was both the combination of home and school,
Mm,
where it just started to feel fully hopeless and like it's never gonna change. Which, of course, looking back now, that didn't make any sense. But for a kid,
mhm,
it just that's what it was. And yeah, it was very dark. And eventually, like what got me through, was, and I'm not sure actually if it was before or after the How to Be Happy Google search, but it was around the same time.
Mm.
I somehow also don't remember how, but I discovered videos on YouTube of people doing random acts of kindness,
Oh wow.
and it was called Restoring Hope in Humanity
Mm.
or Real Life Heroes. That was the title of the videos. It was many of them,
Oh,
different montages, and it was videos of people, doing simple things like helping somebody across the street, or even bigger things like running into a building that's on fire to save a dog or save a kid or something like that.
right.
And that helped me kind of push through and see more of a light at the end of the dark tunnel, because it showed me that there is good in the world, that there are awesome people out there, and
Mm.
maybe I just need to go and find them. Maybe I need to go and become one of them, so that way I can hang out with them, and I can be in a different world basically than this world where it feels like everybody's out to get me, and
Mm.
everything's unstable, everybody's evil, or everything's so scary, and
Right.
and and so that definitely helped, I think, push through eventually. Again, not really sure how I found it or discovered it. I don't have that memory. What the memory I have is just one night laying on my bed watching the video, just crying my eyes out. There's just like hope of like, oh my god, like there's actually something different out there. And it,
Mm.
it definitely became a big inspiration. And then with combination of the Google search, that gave me the kind of the practicalities of like, okay, well, this is what you can do. You can change your habits, you can practice gratitude, you can do this, you can journal. And I started executing on those and eventually climbed out of the darkness.
Mm. One of the videos I saw you posted, which I loved, was your free hugs video. You did you see it, somebody else doing it, and say, I need to try it? Or did it just come to your mind and say, how do I get hugs and how do I give some love back? Right? Because it was giving, but it was also receiving, which is the beauty behind it.
Yeah. Free hugs is an amazing experience. Totally recommend to everybody to try it at least once. I don't know if I ever saw a video before. I met a person who became a friend who has done it before as a way to do also confidence challenge and like a social exposure therapy challenge to
Mm.
also help assist with overcoming social anxiety. And he just had this really awesome experience and story um, with it, and that inspired me to go and do it myself as well.
Nice, nice. What was the feeling like when you hug someone and you can feel, because of the way they hugged you, that they needed it, maybe even more than you did?
It's beautiful.
Mm.
So over it feels really warm. And I'll describe it a little bit more. So what happens when you go out and you do free hugs? And I've done this in about 8 countries, 4 different continents. So
Wow.
I have a wide variety of experience with Western countries and Asian countries and Australia as well. So it's very similar, literally everywhere in the world, but it doesn't matter where you go. You find a crowded place, ideally where there's traffic, like foot traffic, where people are walking through, so you have as many eyeballs on you as possible. And you take the sign and you stand in the corner, where people are walking by. And if you're doing it for the first time or you haven't done it much, it feels like time slows down when you're putting the sign above your head, like and it's so scary, like your heart's beating really fast, and then all of a sudden you see the eyes and the faces like turn to you, right? And it's like, whoa, okay, now everybody's looking at me. This is really scary. And about 80% people, maybe 70, 80% of people will kind of just ignore you and just walk by and maybe give you a little bit of a look like, what is this, weird. And they will ignore you, walk away. Maybe about, 5% of people will be like, ugh, what is this? And give you like this really like, ugh, ugly look,
Right,
and,
right,
and
right.
like bad, like full rejection. Um, Now this is where it gets a little bit different. In Asia, specifically in Asia, lots of people will be taking photos. Lots of people will be taking photos and be just very fascinated, but they won't come give you a hug. And then, maybe about 5% of people will give you a hug. They'll just give you a nice hug and then walk away, say thank you, and be like, walk away. Maybe 2% of people will try and maybe have a chat, like talk to you a little bit, like, oh, why are you doing this, whatever, whatever. And then 1% of people will yell at you that like you're doing something wrong, which is just mind blowing. But I've gotten yelled at, I've gotten kicked out of university campuses for doing free hugs. Wild, but it happens. And 1% of people will do something like start crying in your arms and say something like, and this happened to me. And this one girl said, I just lost my mom last week, and you don't even know how lonely I've been, and I really
Mm.
needed a hug. And I still
Um,
get goosebumps when I share that because
oh
it's
yeah.
really raw and vulnerable, and just such like a authentic connection with a totally strange human that just walking by, and you have no idea what people are going through on that sense. And it was just like, yeah, it's full of gratitude, and it feels connected. It makes you high. Like I've had many experiences where I was like, I feel like crap today. I don't want to do anything. Okay, let me just go do free hugs for like 30 minutes. And
Mm.
after just 10, 30 minutes, I don't want to leave because it's just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And you feel the serotonin and the oxytocin like completely flooded in your bloodstream. And to fully drive the point home, this was in Thailand, and I was doing an in-person podcast interview. And after that, I was like, hey, I invited the interviewer to go do free hugs with me. I was like, I was planning to do free hugs right after the interview. You want to come? And she was like, well, I have a lot of work. I have to edit this and I have to do that. I'm like, yeah, just come 10 minutes. Just come do 10 minutes. You won't regret it. I swear. You won't regret it. And she's never done it before. And so we go to this night market and there's like thousands of people. It's huge.
Mm.
And so I do it for like 5 minutes. I get a couple hugs, and she's filming, she's making pictures, and she's like, okay, I think I'm ready to go. I'm like, no, you have to do at least one hug, at least one. Come on, you're already here. At least do one. And she was kind of scared, nervous, and then she finally did it. And this tiny, like maybe I don't know, she must have been like 4, 5, 6 years old. This small little girl just like ran up to her and like hugged her leg, and she was like, ah, yeah, yeah, like super, super adorable. And she just melted, and she was like, oh my God, this is so cute. And then one hug after another, after another, after another.
Mm.
And 40 minutes went by, and she was still with me. And she was like, I don't want to leave now anymore because this is like so amazing. And she spent about 2 hours with me doing free hugs that day.
Oh my goodness. Oh
So
my goodness.
that's how the experience usually goes, and very often, especially if you stick around longer,
Mm.
it's magical.
Yeah. You'll have to join me in New York City one time when you're out. We'll go to Times Square and we'll do free
Yeah,
hugs. Maybe
that's a
we'll incorporate a
perfect way.
bunch of people, right? Because I'm having on July 20th. I'm having a brunch in New York City, and can you imagine 30 of us out there with free hug signs? It would definitely impact everyone and go like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
This, and I was telling you, I wore this shirt because I knew I was going to be talking to you, and I love your smile. I love what you're doing, and that all led from you getting out of your darkness, moving away from what was hurting you to what was empowering you, which was inside of you, which is the love for humanity. And I love that aspect of what you're doing. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, he's so young. What's he gonna teach me?" But you have so much, thank you, mom. All right. Um, but also for the logical aspect, but I think your heart maybe goes back to your grandpa and
Mm.
to finding yourself or not jumping on the tracks, finding yourself to say, I need to search for me, for who I need to become. What has that done for you? And when did you leave home? Because you've been traveling. You just talked about You're giving hugs in different countries. Most people haven't left their one country. Talk to us about that idea of not staying put in your hometown. I want you to think about that, but I want to share with everybody this first to give you some time to think. Take a look. You followed the rules, tried the restrictions, counted the carbs, the steps, and the failures. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from doing it all without real change. What if the problem isn't you, but the plan? Sifu's Mind Body Method is a 90-day transformation built on 7 unshakable pillars: mindset, movement, nutrition, hydration, fasting, journaling, and faith. This isn't another shortcut. It's your structure, your strength, your reset. You don't need harder, you need better. Ready to begin? Start today. So thinking about the question I asked you before I put that video up, what'd you think about?
It was a combination of things. And one of the things also relates back to my social anxiety and what happened after I Googled how to be happy. And one of the things I discovered was, well, being more social and building connections with people. And because I had a very hard time talking to people in person and building relationships and having conversations, I went online once again. And I found these apps where it was basically the main functionality of the app was that you click this button in the middle, and there was a little paper airplane that flew around the little world, and it connected you directly into chat with some person from anywhere in the world.
Wow.
And so and it was anonymous in the beginning. So that's why I started practicing talking to people, and that's why also why I started speaking English very well early, because a lot of people in the Czech Republic don't really speak English, and it's not very common. But so I was chatting with these people from like Egypt and Indonesia and Brazil and all of these different people from all over the world, and just finding out like about their lives and their cultures a little bit, and how they live and what's happening out there. And that opened my mind, and it was like, wow, I want to visit his country. I want to visit this person's country. I want to visit this country, right? So that's where it began. When I was about 14, 15, is when I started chatting with international people like this. And again, technology and the internet, wow, what an amazing tool, right? And there's one person that I'm still connected with. She's in Brazil, and we still chat every now and then from, connected back in 2014, and we still go back and forth and we chat a couple times. And so we became friends. I've never been to Brazil yet. I might visit her over there someday. Anyways, so that was kind of the spark, I think. And then when I was about 17, I had the opportunity to go live in Hungary for 3 weeks as like an exchange student to like have work experience in a different country. It was like a European exchange program in my school. So I did that, and I absolutely fell in love with living in a foreign country and living and working in a foreign country and like learning the environment. Okay, I have to take this tram, I have to take this, I have to take this bus, and I have to do all this. And so it became really amazing to me how how I could do that. And then when I was about 18, I went to do a summer job in Germany for a month. So again, work and living experience in a different country. And then when I was 20, I moved to the Netherlands and moved out fully out of my country.
What was that job in Germany?
In Germany, it was landscaping. So we were landscaping and cleaning apartment buildings. So we found this job with one of my classmates actually invited me and offered if I want to come with him. It was through like their family member or something. He had a landscaping, like a housekeeping company for apartment buildings. So we helped him clean apartments and cleaning basements and mopping floors and cutting grass in front of the buildings and sweeping like entrances and things like that. So it was like a yeah low level immigrant job basically, but it was fun. Great experience.
When so you're doing that what during the day, and what were your nights and mornings like?
I would walk around. I think we had some bikes, so we biked around a little bit. It was in Munich, in Germany. So we explored a little bit of Munich, and then I think on the weekends or something like that, we would do like a bigger trip with the boss, and he was fun. He was a good boss. It was really fun, and yeah, so we would explore around a little bit. We tried to try talking to some German people and try to make some friends, and overall a really awesome experience.
Mm. You said when you're 20, you fully moved out, but you didn't move out and move down the block. You moved to a different
No.
country. What was the catalyst for that? What was the thought in your head that I need to really go somewhere?
Mm.
Totally
Well,
different.
one part of it was I just wanted to get away from my house and from my family, because at that point I was already building a business. I was already trying to work on myself even more, and I was trying to connect with people. I was trying to build a brand and build my personal brand. I was making videos. I was doing all this, and my family was just like, "What are you doing?" You know, they were very negative, and we had a lot of arguments about just like most like just life beliefs and philosophy. And I would fight with my dad about, you know, people are evil and rich people are evil because they take our money and we are poor because of them. And I'm like, oh, I don't think that's true, you know, and look at this and look at that. And it just didn't work. And so I felt like I needed to get away from those beliefs and from just that close-minded, one way is the only way of life, while I was, you know, figuring out what I actually want to do. And like, I want to go a totally different path. And moving out to a place like the Netherlands and like a big city like Amsterdam, which is a big international city with lots of new people, lots of opportunities, lots of events, lots of networking, and that's really what was attractive to me. Um, the way it worked, it was a very simple agency that basically took people from Romania, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Poland, like Eastern Europe, and just said, "Hey, we're gonna give you a job in Western Europe where you have 4 times more pay." Haha. Which was true, right? So that's how they attracted people, and I went there mainly for getting away from my family and for the opportunities, whereas all the other people just went there for more money and having fun for like a summer job. And so, you know, all the other immigrants were like, they were not interested in business or in personal growth and whatever. They were interested in drinking a 6 pack of beer after a shift and hanging out. I will so but it was better because I would go to meetups, I would go meet local people, I would go to entrepreneurs meetups, I would go, you know, doing all of these different things with international people, and network and learn from others, and eventually started hosting my own meetups and events, and found my own place, and um, yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. You said that you had started your own business. What kind of business did you start? You were working gardening and cleaning and all that. And what kind of business did you get into?
Yeah. So in the first, I just wanted to, at first, like my thought was, I just want to make some money online. I want to become rich and successful so that I can help other people with mental health, because that's what I like felt passionate about. Because like I
Mm,
overcame my own depression and anxiety, and I never went to therapy, or I did never used any medication. I just used what I learned online and applied it in my life and built connections and relationships, and that helped. So it's like I want to, you know, help other people do this, but I'm too young and nobody's going to listen to me. I'm a nobody, you know, like I have $50 in my bank account and I'm working a part-time job, and whatever. So I was like, I need to become rich and successful with some online business. So I did like
mm,
affiliate marketing and drop shipping, and I learned about Forex trading and all of these little different things. But eventually, none of that worked. And eventually, I finally overcame the limiting belief that I'm too young. And I just started a coaching business to help people with depression, mental health, and social anxiety. and started making videos, created my Facebook group, and hired a coach, and went from there. So when I was 19, I already started the coaching business.
Wow. Wait a minute. You said you only have $50 in your bank account, but yet you managed to hire a coach.
Yeah.
What? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I was in high school at that time, and I was working a part-time job in the afternoons, like in a logistics company loading trucks, making like $3 an hour in the Czech Republic. So I didn't have a lot of money, and I would save up a little bit and buy a course about dropshipping. I would buy a course about this. I would buy a course, like spend $40, $50, whatever I saved up from my part-time job on things like this. And yeah, none of those were really working out. And then met this coach who was like, hey, I charge $2,500 for 3 months of group coaching, and I'm like, I make like $250 a month with my part-time job. Like, there's absolutely no way that I can pay for that.
Right.
And so she helped out a little bit, and she didn't like she gave me like a free session because I won second place in her free challenge, and she would answer like a little of my questions when I would text her, but it wasn't like a full coaching relationship yet.
Mhm.
And then after about 6 months after I graduated high school, I could start working full time, and I decided to drop out of university and just pursue the business full time,
Mhm.
at least for a while. And so I could start working full time. So instead of making like $250 a month, I would make like $450 a month. Now, my parents said, if you drop out, you have to start paying rent and food and all this. You'll be an adult, but you ain't gonna get any money from us. So you're paying everything for yourself. So even
Mm.
though I was living at home, I had to pay rent and I had to, pay for my food. My mom still cooked, but I had to pay for it. So I still didn't have enough money to pay a coach. And so I had another call with her, and she was like, hey, I'm happy to help you out, and I see your potential. You're young, you're doing the work. I've seen your videos since we first talked like 6 months ago. You've been doing this and you're putting yourself out there, you're teaching these classes. I love what you're doing. I love your mission. I want to help you out. I'm not gonna give you a discount. I'm not gonna coach you for free. I'll give you a payment plan so that instead of the normal 3 months that I give people payment plans, I will give you a payment plan for a year.
Mm.
So, you can pay, it was like $250 a month for a year. And I was like, whoa, that's still a lot of money. Like I have like $100 left after I pay my bills. So, hold that thought. Thank you for the offer. Hold that thought. I'll go see my boss tomorrow at work and I'll ask for more hours. And if I can work more hours, then I can have more money and I can pay you. And so that's what ended up happening. That's what I did. I went to my boss and he was happy to give me more hours because I was working really hard. And I went on the payment plan to pay for a 3 month program on a 1 year payment plan because she wanted to help me out. And eventually she became my online mom, and we developed a great relationship. I started calling her my online mom. And then after I like 2 years, 2.5 years later, after I was able to quit my job and start traveling full time, I went to see her in London and we had a really great day. We spent like 24 hours over, like maybe 16 hours together. And we did like tourist attractions in London and we had a lot of fun. So yeah, it became like a nice full circle situation.
I love the fact that you did not give up. The fact that what you're teaching people is that no matter how tough things are, even if you think you can't afford it, there has to be a way. You have to go and look. A lot of people, they're like, "Oh, no, I looked under my couch. There's no money there. I looked over here. I looked over there." And then they go sit and watch TV, right? And
Hmm.
then they say, and that's probably why you had the arguments with your dad, because it's the rich people that keep us poor, but meanwhile, it's our mind that keeps us poor, not other people, because other people didn't make you sit down and watch TV. But you took the initiative to say, if I can get more money, we got a deal. And you paid. And I love the fact that she didn't give you a discount, because everybody wants something for nothing. They want a discount. But yet, had she given you a discount, she also would have given you a discount in coaching. you know what I mean by that, right? She wouldn't have given you the full potential of her. You wouldn't have gotten all of her because she goes, oh, well, he's only paying, $100 a
Yeah.
month, while all my other clients are paying $250 a month, and so I'm only going to give him $100 worth. But she gave you the full thing, and I think she was a brilliant coach in that regard. And it goes to show anybody out there that don't cheapen your services, people. Ondra's here to tell you, don't cheapen your services. You are worth it. Be persistent, and it's okay to help somebody out, but still charge them full price because they won't value you as a coach. That was a great lesson she taught you, my friend. And I'm happy that she did.
Yeah.
Talk to us about earlier you talked about meetups.
Yeah.
And you said you started having your own. And before we got on live, you were talking to me about how people are now copying your system that you have. You created a
Yeah.
system, and everybody in your town is now doing it. But now, everybody listen, share this episode with everyone, because what he's about to tell us is a system, that you can employ in your country, in your province, in your neighborhood, in your city. Are you ready? Are you ready to listen to this young man who is actually wiser beyond his years? And before we even discredit you because of your age, Ondra, how young are you, my friend?
I'm 24 years old. 24 years young.
24 years young. And you know what? I never allow any of my clients to ever tell me they're old either, because I don't see myself as old. And even for people go, how old are you? I go, you mean how old I am? I'm not old, I'm young. So yeah, that's the right attitude. So it's age is a number, because I know a lot of people in their 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s who are not as bright as you, who haven't done as much as you have. So we also talked about your experiences that have helped you and guided you. You got out of your comfort zone by asking for hugs. And I got to tell you, brilliant, and you have such great information to share with us. And now I'm just going to take notes. Let me get my pad and paper. Everybody at home, get your pad and paper, because it's time to learn. And I am an avid learner, my friend. It doesn't matter how many times I've been around the block. Every time I go around it, I meet someone new.
Nice.
Ready?
Amazing.
Tell us
So
about your
for
system that you've
for a
created.
meetup system, it's super simple and it works super well. Everybody gets connections, everybody gets value. You can still position yourself as an expert, and you can provide a lot of value. You can create those deep connections and grow your influence and make impact with this. It can be flexible. We do 2 hours. So we do a 2 hour meetup, and it works for people if there's 5 people, or it works if there's 25 people, if there's 30 people. If it's a lot larger, you gotta shorten the first round. It works in
Right.
3 rounds. First round is introductions. So usually the host will start and they will lead. And this is where we do two questions for introductions. At our content creators meetup, we do what why do you create what kind of content do you create and why. Those are the two questions. What content do you create and why do you create content? Super simple. That's the introductions that you do, and we go around the room. Everybody says that. At the personal growth meetups, we do why do you work on yourself and what are you currently unlearning. Great question that
Mm.
my co-host came up with. Right, so into introductions we have two short questions that people can introduce themselves with. Second round, we go into a mastermind round. So we open up the whole table for people to share insights or ask questions about the related topic. If it's a content topic, or if it's a freelance topic, or if it is a personal growth topic. something that's on people's mind. Usually there will be like a pause. It's like, okay, now it's time for the mastermind. Who has any questions? And then everybody just stays quiet for like half a minute until somebody finally goes, okay, I'll ask this, and then the conversation just starts rolling. People start adding in, people start sharing insights from left and right, and people start layering on. And then an hour goes by, you don't even know how, and people are taking notes, and people are connecting and engaging, and you can facilitate it in like, hey, what do you think, right? You can let people speak up, and my role at that place as a facilitator is to watch people's body language and be like, okay, well, this person's kind of shy and not engaging a lot or whatnot. So I can point out like, hey, do you have any thoughts? And because of the introductions, and also a lot of the times I will know some of the people already, so I can call on people specifically. Hey, I think Mark, you will have a great answer to this because you've spent 4 years doing this. So it's not just me being the only expert in coaching all the time, but it's like I let other people engage, let each other answer the questions, and then when we transition into, but of course I still answer all of the questions and I still share my stories and I still engage with the group as well to position myself as like, I've been doing this and I can help you more. This is a great question. If you want to go deeper into this topic, just come find me afterwards after we finish up this round, and we can talk more. We can set up a coffee chat, or we can meet up, or we can talk virtually, right? In the
Let me
transition
ask you
between
before you go to the next round. So the mastermind portion, who's leading it, or is it several people that you select, or is it that you've already had a meeting before to say who's going to speak at the mastermind portion of the meeting? Or because you said your co-host, right?
Mhm.
Do you guys have a conversation? Is like, hey, we like to have Mark, we like to have Cindy, we like to have John and Mary participate. Do you talk to them ahead of time? How do you facilitate the mastermind so that it fills everybody's head with wanting that much more?
Mm. Yeah, so with my co-host, we do it in a way. So the co-host is just like the supportive role if somebody needs to run off or
Mhm.
just being there as well to
Right.
just be present. I personally have the main role in the content creator meetups. He has the main role in the personal growth meetups, right?
Mm.
And we are there for each other, but we don't really plan anything ahead like that. It's
Got it.
almost no preparation, very simple. We just say whoever has a question, and that's why there's a big pause. But
Mm.
you will be able to tell, like, that's our role as the facilitators of it, is to spot people, and then if nobody's actually speaking up anything, then I'll come up with a question, and I'll like once I was like, well, okay, nobody's asking anything. That's okay. That happens sometimes. You will
Right.
be able, you will have a question later on once we get flowing to get the conversation started. I'm curious, like, what's been your biggest time? What do you waste most of your time and money on recently? Right? And then somebody's like, oh my god, social media, I don't know how to stop it. Okay, and then conversation starts, and then 30 minutes goes by and people are having insights, and it flows really organically this way. And during that portion, there's many chances that I can speak up and share my expert opinion on that topic if I have it, of
Right.
course, right? And the way I do that as well is I will usually wait for almost everybody to go around. Maybe 4 people will have some thoughts on that, and I will go last, and I will make sure that my message hits. So
Mm.
that's that way I position myself. I'm still the leader. I'm still the facilitator. I'm the expert. I'm the authority on this if I am on the topic, right? And I'll share my thoughts that way. Wait until everybody else goes, and then we move on to the next person, to the next question. Maybe we'll do a hot seat, or we bring up a new topic if the topic kind of runs out. Today
Nice.
at the personal growth meetup, it was a couple of hours ago. Somebody asked about the topic of love, like, and we talked about what is love, how do I communicate love, how do I express love, right? What if I have challenges with saying the words "I love you"? It was a beautiful conversation,
Wow.
and it wasn't planned, it wasn't prepared, and people walked away with amazing insights and loads of notes and all this. And so that's how we do the mastermind. And then towards the third section, in between second and third, while people are riled up and a lot of the times the momentum is high and they want more conversations flowing, insights are flowing, we do announcements or upsells sometimes, right? So announcements, I will announce like, hey, we also host this meetup that's happening on Saturday. So we also host this workshop. We host this community. If you want to come find us, if you want to learn more about that and you want to go deeper, come find us. We do like a little pitch, and then we also let other people announce their meetups or workshops or things that's happening in the community to help support the community. And we cross promote each other, and then we can go into the last section, which is the networking. And then the prompt is really simple: walk away with at least 2 contacts, send the message right away. If you can, take a selfie with that person, send the selfie, connect, and set up a meeting so that you're not just, oh wow, that was a fun meetup, I met a lot of cool people, and then I never see them again. But like, make sure that you're taking that relationship further. And yeah, I started doing it this way because it just felt very intuitive to me. It felt like really enjoyable and not a lot of work, and people are attracted to it. People started copying it for different topics and different kinds of and meetings. And even very proudly, like the first person who ever did it, he created a